First, comments by Israel's far-right finance minister continue to make waves in the region. Today, Jordanian lawmakers voted to expel the Israeli ambassador at an event this week. Bezalel Smotrich denied the existence of the Palestinian people. Our Middle East correspondent Ariel Osran is with us now. Ariel, just take us through what happened in the Jordanian parliament today.
Well, Laura, two major things happened. First, there was this vote by the parliament that recommended to expel Israeli ambassador to Amman, Eitan Circus, who was, I'll remind you, he was summoned yesterday to by the foreign ministry following the statements by Israeli finance minister Bezalel Smotrich. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. At the same time of the vote, on the podium, there was a little jab to Smotrich in the form of a map of or they took the greater map of Israel that Smotrich had presented or had spoken from the podium that carried that map and placed it on top of that map, the flag of Jordan, basically showing that also Jordan in this map has its sovereignty over territory that is considered Israel. Of course, this is a jab. This is not the intention of the Jordanian government. But if we're talking about the Jordanian government, they need to take this recommendation, and it's up to them to decide whether the ambassador will indeed be expelled. This is not likely to happen, given the close relations and strategic relations between the countries. But this statement from this vote from the parliament is indeed a powerful statement, and the parliament speaker, Ahmed Safadi, said during today's session, quote, "We call on the government to take effective measures towards the occupation over the Israeli minister's use of the map that includes borders of the Kingdom of Jordan and occupied Palestinian territory." So mainly a declaratory statement, but another blow to Israel-Jordanian relations.
Absolutely, Ariel. Thank you very much indeed, Ariel Osran there. And this, of course, at a time when there have been efforts to try and calm tensions ahead of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which begins tomorrow. Well, to talk more about the ongoing tensions, we're joined from Manama tonight by Abdallah Al-Junaid, Bahraini columnist and geopolitical analyst. Great to have you with us as always, Abdallah. And here with me in the studio, Yaki Dayan is the former Israeli consul in Los Angeles. Good evening to you as well.
Laura. Good evening, Abdallah.
Great to have you both. Abdallah, we've just been talking about this move by Jordan, haven't we? I'm going to bring up a report in Saudi media, an unconfirmed report. The UAE might potentially be seeking to downgrade ties with Israel. Your response to that, your reaction?
Well, put it this way, for every action, there is a reaction. And this level of provocative measure by one of the Israeli cabinet minister is definitely uncalled for and doesn't convey the messages that what the Abrahamic Accord has established a basis for. We believe that this coalition have to stand up to its obligations, to its Israelis first, and to its neighbors in the region. We all need to work together, but if downgrading of representation do take place, I believe it is called for.
Yaki Dayan, you're an Israeli diplomat. You're someone who has represented his country abroad. What do you make of the current situation?
Good evening, Laura. I think that as a diplomat, as a former diplomat, nothing has been music to my ears. I think that the government, actually there are two governments, diplomatically speaking, because there is a government in the morning that convenes either in Aqaba or in Sharm and frees any building in Judea and Samaria, agree to cooperate with Jordan, Egypt, and the Palestinians. And there is a government at night which says that there is no Palestinian people and go to Temple Mount and build outposts in Judea and Samaria. And eventually, if we look at the word, and the word is saying that this government is being dominated to the right. And Netanyahu basically is representing maybe part of the government, but not the entire government. And there are worrying signs, and we see reactions from all over, not only from Jordan, but we see reactions from our best friends or our strategic ally in the world, which is the United States. The ambassador was summoned, and we see much more of that. So yes, I think Jerusalem, we have a problem. I think that the ministers have to realize and understand that they are ministers, that they represent the government. They are not some kind of people that are coming from the streets and can make any comments, because any comment that they make, there is a price for that.
Abdullah, let's remind ourselves, Prime Minister Netanyahu was, of course, the one who got the Abraham Accords signed back in 2020. He's denied that there's any kind of crisis in relations with the UAE. What do you think? Where are we headed with these normalization agreements right now?
Laura, those accords were signed with Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu happened to be the prime minister at that time. If it was somebody else, we would have signed exactly the same agreements. But we need to understand this is not part of Netanyahu's sort of, heritage or inheritance. So he better start really being forthcoming. He has a crisis nationally, regionally, and internationally. And as your guest at the studio said, I do apologize, I forgot your name.
Yaqid Dayan.
And Yaqid, okay. As Yaqid said, there is a problem, and it needs to be addressed at the highest level. If it's continue like this, yes, those relations going to be dented. What we're looking forward is really revisiting the importance of regional cooperation, how important Israel to start acting like a responsible partner regionally, and not to antagonize, the Israelis and the region. At the same time, this is something, it is something new, and it is worrying.
What would you like to see from Prime Minister Netanyahu right now, Abdullah?
To tell you the truth, I've seen his face today through one of the TV reports. His body language stating that he's under tremendous pressure. What he needs to do is go back to basic. What he needs not to speak to us, but speak to the Israelis first.
Very quickly, Yaqid Dayan.
Listen, I think that Abraham Accords was one of the biggest achievements Netanyahu had. And when in his inauguration speech, he mentioned that in his second point that he wants to expand it to Saudi Arabia. For the time being, it looks that he's moving backwards and not forward. And definitely, I agree with Abdullah. He needs to speak as a leader. He has to lead this government, and this government is not going to the right place. And in order to do that, he has to overcome the local crisis and also the international crisis. Israel has to go back to the point that it was a regional power, and it is a regional power, but he has to make sure that this is the place that Israel is heading to.
Do you have any hope of that happening anytime soon?
Listen, it's eventually, Netanyahu did it and he can do it again. Time and time again, when he has to choose between the Americans and his coalition partners, he chooses the Americans. But he has to lead, he has to show his coalition partners that there is a price to pay, and not they are paying the price, but the Israelis are paying the price. And here, Netanyahu has to lead and make sure that he leads the way internationally.
Yaqid Dayan and Abdullah Al-Junaid, thank you very much indeed to you both.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.